Hello, and welcome to the Earth Podcast. I'm your host, Jason Adams. Today, I'm excited to introduce two exceptional figures in the technology sector as our guests. Joining us first is Eli Lyons. Eli brings 22 years of experience as an owner and as a senior executive of regional and national companies to his position. Prior to co-founding Greyhawk Land Solutions, Mr. Lyons held the position of Vice President of Business Development at GeoAmps, where he helped introduce and implement the most state-of-the-art technology available to right-of-way industry. His efforts at GeoAmps helped them make the Forbes list for 2 years and helped thousands of users leverage technology to become more efficient at their jobs. Mr. Lyons earned his Master's of Science in Engineering and Technology Management from the Colorado School of Mines. He's fluent in English and Spanish and an active member of the IRWA. And he holds a managing broker's license in the state of Colorado. Also joining us today is Yogesh Khandelwal, Executive Vice President at Irth. Yogesh was the founder and the inspirational leader of GeoAmps, which was acquired by Irth in 2023. He's an engineer with a diverse background in technology across various industries. With more than 25 years of experience in database customization and implementation, his leadership helps companies implement standardized processes, bringing efficiency and optimization to land rights and infrastructure asset management. He holds a master's degree in civil engineering from the University of Toledo and The Ohio State University. Yogesh was honored with a selection of the 40 under 40 in Central Ohio in 2013, and Business Journal newspapers also named him to the Who's Who in Energy in 2013. Both, thank you so much for joining. I'm excited to begin this process. So, Yogesh, I want to start off with you and say, hey, what I find very interesting is your history with GeoAmps. Can you go a little more about GeoAmps, which was what is now known as Irth Land Management, and what its mission was before the acquisition by Irth in 2023?
Jason, thanks for having me first and foremost, but absolutely, I can definitely get into that. We formed GeoAmps back in 2010, and the whole idea at the time was as we looked at the market and the space, there were not a lot of good solutions available in that space, and software companies providing solutions to companies that are managing land rights. So we saw a unique opportunity of creating a product in a space that had an unmet need, for lack of better terms. And we identified that, and we were able to build a solution. And our focus initially was to focus on pipeline companies where there was a lot of growth happening and a lot of projects running at the time. And then from there, we were able to transition into adjacent industries such as renewables and utilities and so on and so forth. So going in, we knew we wanted to be a software product company. We kind of built the product in that fashion. Going in, we knew that we wanted to have a product that supports multiple industries. So we built it in that fashion. And we were lucky and fortunate that we were adopted by some of the biggest companies in each of those industries, right? Whether you think about pipeline or utilities or renewables, we were able to identify and land contracts with some of the largest operators in those spaces. And that put us on a very accelerated journey of growth and challenges, to be quite honest. But we took those on with heart, and we invested in the product, and we continue to reinvent ourselves every year, rolling out new versions and updates of the product. And that journey continued through all of from 2010 all the way through 2022, which is kind of when we started talking to Blackstone, latter part of 2023 actually, and that eventually led to us joining the Blackstone family and the group. So that's been kind of our journey so far. It's been an interesting road. We've done a lot in a very short amount of time, but we are kind of proud and excited about where we're going next.
Yeah, that's a great story. It's great having you part of the Irth family now. Eli, I was kind of wondering, I know you were there early on, what's kind of the primary motivation behind this platform of land rights management for utilities and municipalities?
Yeah, I was introduced to GeoAmps and Yogesh, I think, in the fall of 2011. First large linear project that I believe they started working on, which is around 900 miles for a large midstream pipeline project coming out of the Marcellus and down to the Gulf Coast. When we started looking at it, we noticed immediately the benefit, right? So we hadn't seen software that was capable of doing this. We didn't see another competitor in the marketplace that was an independent third party at the time. We had seen some other competitors try to build their own homegrown solutions, but those homegrown solutions were only meant for those companies. So by the time we were introduced to it and sat down, you immediately saw the difference in what we would have as our deliverables to our clients. And the biggest one being timelines. So at least for pipelines, all pipeline linear projects are driven by one thing, the in-service date. The day their BD and commercial teams have put in place that product needs to be able to flow through that line. Okay? So without getting into the details of how you run pipeline projects, just know that at the end, it's got to be done because you've made a business agreement. The product will be available to flow through. Okay? That date never changes. Every other status of your project will change. All the guidelines will change. All the rules will change. All the deadlines will change. That date will never change. Okay? So the software was the first time, because of it, we saw we were able to start doing things in concurrent path instead of consecutive path. Prior to this kind of software coming out in the marketplace, right-of-way agents would have to go do things in a linear fashion. You'd have to start with tax cards, investing deeds, and moving your way through each piece of the process until ultimately ended through reclamation and construction, and the project was done, right? Well, by the time software came in and we realized we can compartmentalize what everybody's roles are, you could do 4 or 5 things at the same time, if not immediately sequentially one right after the other, right? So now timelines that used to be 2.5 years to be able to handle acquisition, by the time a year and a half later, those same type of linear projects we were accomplishing in 9 months.
Wow.
You can't beat that. Between the clients getting used to what it costs now, the cost savings on labor and acquisition during that timeline, plus being able to then be more competitive when they are trying to bid against other midstream companies to be the company selected to put pipe in the ground, time was the most advantageous thing we ever saw. And GeoAmps and now Irth Land Management was and still is the most effective platform to be able to do that in.
That's such an interesting story. And I honestly, Yogesh, I'm kind of curious of saying, how does the platform kind of simplify this complex task of managing all the land rights management, I guess from ownership records and permits all the way to like new facility installations? How does Irth Land Management accomplish that?
Yeah, so Jason, we built a platform that was very rich in functionality, right? So it was very important for us to provide meaningful functions and features to our audience and our users. And that comprehensive feature set is kind of the secret sauce, if you will, in this efficiency building in the system. So for example, in our solution, if a new project is getting set up, the process of setting up a new project can be as little as 15 minutes. And in that 15-minute process, the users can have all the parcels identified, all the ownership identified. They can have acreage and all kinds of key information available just from the get-go. In comparison, if that process was done manually, we've seen that process take anywhere from 4 to 16 hours to do. So just that one simple task, taking something that could take 8 to 10 hours or 8 to 16 hours and can be prone with errors or potential errors, replaced with automation that can be done in 15 minutes, right? So that, if you think about a pipeline, it goes through several reroutes at different phases of the project. And if this process has to be done manually every time, you can just kind of start to amount the savings that you're going to get with the automation, right? So at every step, so that's kind of the first step, if you will, but at every step of the land acquisition journey, we make the most up-to-date data available to the end user so that they can move through that acquisition process quickly and with accuracy, right? So it's a double-edged sword. You want to do it quick, but you want to be accurate because any mistakes can be very, very costly, right? And then we've looked and we continue to look at the process again and again and identify areas where automation can help, right? So removing manual tasks and replacing them with automation. Now, this could be timely notifications. This could be event-driven notifications, things that will keep the people or the folks in the know so that they can act on it and make sure that they are addressing any issues before they become problems. So our solution provides extensive collaboration tools, right? Eli mentioned, there's a lot of different people, collaborating. And one of the key elements to that is to make sure that they are all working off the same information. Absent a centralized repository, people might be working with, their version of the truth. And if different people have different data silos, they might be looking at things differently and not arrive at the same solutions. So having that centralized repository where people can collaborate with is really meaningful, right? Just just to maybe add to that a little bit, just robust reporting, right? Reporting is such a key component, right? People can put the data in the system, but if you can't make sense of the data, if you can't use the data, then it's not of much use to the audience. So reporting was like a big component of our solution, and making sure that not only that clients get a robust set of reports out the gate, but they can extend on that, right? So all these things, it's efficiency is not a single bullet, right? It's a matter of just taking key points and nicking at it one at a time, right? And in that whole process, and we've continued to do this for the last 13 years, do this progressively. With every turn, we get better and better and better, and we continue to invest in the product and make it better. And that's kind of been our journey to achieve this. So
Nice.
Yeah, I would add that ability to work well with others, especially us and our team, is highlighted in two very big points. One, from technology is advancing crazy every day, right? We all get that. But we have tools now that can extract data that comes out. And so an example in using Earth for an 800 track project, we were able to extract data using OCR technology and map it into Earth where it belongs. The extraction took, I think, 57 nanoseconds. The QA/QC piece took 2 days. The implementation and migrating all the data into Earth was almost instantaneous, right? So what used to be, even say a year ago, would have taken 3 weeks, right, of real manpower and labor in the field to be able to accomplish those things. You're now measuring those items in nanoseconds, and things are pre-filled inside of Earth before our clients are paying for labor, for day rates, for per diem rates, right? So the ability to bid and be able to reduce costs on those bids to make you more competitive is one thing, okay? And then the second piece, the engineers now, the team that sits behind Earth. So we are in the process of migrating clients from one platform to Earth, okay? That project is actually very large. That project is 52,000 tracks. That is an incredible amount, okay? They have all the data that went with it, plus all the documents on a project that has been going on for the last 2 years. The Earth team is able, and the engineers working with our team, that data got migrated over in, I think, 3 days. And then the document piece to bring those documents over was just set up and took less than 24 hours to migrate 10,000 documents. So prior to that, that would have been its own project lasting 9 and 10 months prior. Those things are gone now, right? It's that collaboration and being able to have a relationship with existing engineering teams, right, that know what you need to get done and help you do it and give you access to the import templates, to the SQL database you need to be able to access to, right? And are there to actually help you, allow us to be able to run and take care of our clients and not have to wait on the software company to be able to take care of the needs of us and our clients. Nobody wants that wait.
Yogesh, I'm curious, can you share any success stories where the platform has significantly impacted a project?
Sure, Jason. I have a few actually. So, let's start with the first one. A large pipeline company that was acquiring land rights for a large-scale national pipeline was using our solution, and our the estimate that we got at the tail end of the project was that they were able to shave off 3 months from the acquisition timeline on that project because of the use of our system, right? So they saved 3 months. Acquisition was done in a shorter amount of time. And when this pipeline went live, it was generating roughly 20 million in profit for the company, right? So if you think about 3 months of save time, $20 million a day, that's an easy math for anybody on kind of the value that the solution brought to this particular project, right? So that's my first example, if you will. My second example would be for a renewable company, and this company is managing about 600 wind farms, solar farms, kind of a combination thereof. And prior to adopting our solution, they were, the renewable industry has some very complex royalty payment calculations, right? So at the end of the quarter, based on production data and revenue data and so on and so forth, they have to do sometimes some very complex calculations on distributing that money amongst all the participants on that project. And so prior to the adoption of Irth Land Management, they were doing this on spreadsheets, and they estimated it was taking them anywhere between 40 to 80 hours per wind farm to do these royalty calculations. post implementation of our solution, they were able to complete that same process in less than 15 minutes, right? So, and this is by wind farm. So, take 40 to 60 hours by wind farm to 15 minutes and times 600. Again, the math is very simple on the significant savings that our clients were able to achieve by the adoption of our solution. And the last one that I'll use, maybe I'll throw in a third one, which is, is kind of a bad but kind of turned out good kind of thing. So we were implementing for another renewable company, and generally the process is that the clients will give us a spreadsheet of how they're doing the calculation, and then we will match that up in a system to show them how to do that same calculation in our solution. And what we found out through that experience was that we were able to match half the lease agreements payments, but the other half we were not able to match up, and our system was actually calculating those payments to be lesser than what was on the spreadsheet. After digging into that a little more, we came to find out that there was an error in the spreadsheet formulas where somebody had kind of copied paste a formula from somewhere to somewhere, and then eventually they ended up paying, in that particular instance, somewhere to the tune of $250,000 of overpayment to those landowners, which they were obviously able to recoup. But again, having a system would have prevented that from the get-go. But these are some of the things that we are seeing, which is what is very exciting for us, that our clients are able to not only benefit from our solution, but find some real value and be able to justify, why they should be paying for a system like that. So, Eli, anything you want to add?
I'll add two of them. One is a large national midstream company, West Coast operations, Mid-Con, East Coast, full national, right? These guys will average anywhere from 200,000 to 500,000 files in each region of tracts and parcels that they cross. They will have payment obligations across all of their assets that, year after year. Some are tied to the CPI index, some are tied to agreements and numbers that have been put in contracts with them. Okay? But when we sit down and talk to them, Yogesh and I both, they started to explain that their land teams at each of the respective offices around the country, at the end of the day, spend anywhere from 6 to 7 months a total of their time in a year simply doing research to calculate what their payment obligations will be for the following fiscal year. Okay? And they do it because through acquisition over the years of different assets that they've bought, it is not in one database. Some are in filing cabinets, some are in old Tobin databases. The gamut is everything. But these land agents are not experts in 7 different formats and 7 different programs and 7 different software applications, right? So they have to do it by hand. 6 to 7 months. Bringing that data into Earth, it's done in less than 30 minutes. Here's your entire obligation. Then go back to work. We had another client do the same thing, but was looking at a floor full of land analysts, okay? Doing research. If they're going to do any sort of acquisition or divestiture work, right? They're putting together, they're seeing what obligations they have. Do you have multi-line rights? Do you have all the different clauses that are in our contracts for when we go to work? Land analysts are taking there, and they have to go to a filing cabinet, and they have to physically pull it out, and it might be 300-400 pages, and they are reading it to find it, to know if they actually have this clause. Okay? So they did a very quick, white page study, and they started to recognize that if we were to process it in OCR, extract those data points, put it away inside of Earth, land analysts now can just go find it. It's there. And when you click on it inside of Earth, it will jump to the exact spot inside of the PDF so they can read the clause, right? That analysis alone, they estimated it would save their land analysts 85% of their day-to-day time. So when you look at the floor and you look at 12 people going to work, the reality is from a corporate standpoint, you only need 4 of those people anymore, right? So your overhead is going to go down, your labor costs are going to go down, their efficiency is going to go up. Okay? And if you ever need to prepare an asset for sale, you can actually bundle it and have it accurate to give to potential buyers to get their due diligence period done in 90 days. And vice versa. If they're going to go buy something, they can bring it to us. And between Greyhawk and Earth, we can process it all, extract all the data points, look for all the gaps and missing documents, be able to put it all away inside of Earth so anybody at the tract level and at the project level can see that all the documents are there, are in order, and have been checked. That way everybody knows what you're actually buying. Right now, they just guess. They make a best guess effort that their BD guys have put through land administration, and land administration departments are understaffed and overworked. They're not actually going through and doing a real due diligence period, right? You're taking their best shot and going, either way, we're going to buy this asset. And if something's wrong with it down the road, we're a Fortune 1. We can afford to fix it. And they take that piece.
Wow.
None of those costs compare to what it costs to buy software.
I
Software is, a rounding error
was going to
to
say
what
the
you're actually
ROI.
doing.
Yeah, it sounds like the ROI is pretty significant here in all of these conversations.
It's through the roof.
Yeah.
It's just they internally they don't have the expertise on how to use the platform,
Mhm.
so they elect not to. Somebody's got to be able to teach them or hold their hand, or just simply do it for them and give them the final result. That's how it starts to be ingrained that becomes their system of record.
This
You know,
is like a double
Jason,
victory, right? Because you get the value of what the application is doing, right? Which is bringing all of this together and giving you good insight. So you see that instant ROI savings, which is amazing. But then you get the additional benefit now that you have all that data in a single repository. You get the intelligence for making better decisions as you move forward. So it's a double victory. I think that kind of leads into a discussion of all that data and how we have to protect it and keep it secure.
Correct. Think about all the payment obligations you have.
Right. That's, it's interesting coming from the damage prevention side of the Earth platform that I've spent a lot of time in. I wasn't aware of land rights management. And now to see how this goes, it's very interesting to me to see how our two activities of what we manage have this collective share of data that's valuable to both sides. I never thought seeing, a land rights management column inside of ticket management would have value. But what I'm learning is, look, our folks that are out trying to protect the infrastructure are typically working on jobs that were started in the land rights management platform months earlier. So now being able to track that and have this feedback loop of not only seeing, the activity around land rights management, but to see the process of the construction and all of those different phases, we're now creating this incredibly unique data set for our clients that give us not only the ability to perform actions in front of us, but to help us plan our actions further because we get more data now. So, Yogesh, one of the things that I'm curious is, have you seen any additional integration opportunities in the Earth platforms now that you've introduced land rights management? And maybe what do you see in the future going forward?
Oh, absolutely, Jason. And it's funny you kind of asked that because we are, just some initial feedback that we've seen, right? We are early into this process, but we are seeing a lot of excitement in the industry and amongst clients with this merger, right? And the reason they're excited is because they have a lot of the clients are clients of the Earth ticket management system and also clients of the Earth Land Management system or GeoAmps in a previous life. And there is data that can be shared and used, collaboratively between those two systems, right? So one of the examples that we were just talking to recently is, companies that are faced with class change projects, right? They are looking for activity. They're looking for ways to identify activity in and around their pipeline that would give them early indication that there is a lot of development happening in and around their pipeline, or there's potential to have future development happen. And so that they can get in ahead of time before it becomes a major headache or a problem for them, and they can do whatever is needed to protect the asset and make sure that they are operating them safely, right? That is a perfect use case for Earth Land Management with the ticket management system to work collaboratively and be able to share data. That would be one example. There are other opportunities or other features being developed inside of the integrity management side of Earth that would also play really well with Earth Land Management, right? I mean, we've talked about this where if you have a pipeline and you need to, and in the integrity management side of the solution, you identify problem areas. Now you need to send out agents to those problem areas. Well, while you're trying to do that, you need to know what is your access requirements. Do you need to provide advance notification? Is there a gate code that you need to have to enter the property, right? Are they, are there other restrictions that you need to be aware of? All of this information is available in Earth Land Management. So that information married up with the other side of the fence can provide a very meaningful and clear data set to the users that need to act on this information. So while it's early, there's a lot of opportunity to have additional integration points that will further improve the use of the systems, both Earth Land Management and the ticketing side for our clients.
Yeah, I tell you, I'll hop in here real quick. I had done a podcast earlier and we were talking about pipeline integrity. And we're talking with a group from Boston Geospatial, looking at satellite data, seeing the information to understand slope and natural risk and all of these other facets around kind of pre-planning activities. They're using it to determine leaks and so forth. But if you could step back and see under the host of solutions that Earth offers now, we have the ability to look at the integrity of the land around where proposed growth of your facilities can combine, really have such an advantage of seeing data that has value that we never knew existed previously now together. What that brings me to, and I think very important, is the security around this data and how we protect it all. Eli, I'm curious, how does data security specifically, play in land rights management? And how do we leverage, I think, all of this new data, but we do it in a safe and mainly secure fashion? Can you speak on that a bit?
Yeah, I can tell you what clients have come to us and asking, right? So as you look at the marketplace and you look at different vendors and providers that are trying to either provide a solution like Earth, but really just don't come close to it. If they're talking to a small local, say in the last couple of years, there's been a lot of new renewable energy companies that have popped up, right? So they get funding from Uncle Sam. They have all this initiative to go grow. They have raised capital, whatever the case is. But the reality is they are new organizations that haven't really thought through what their security needs will be down the road, because right now they don't have any assets. They don't have any clients. They're just starting. Right? They marry up well with smaller providers. But when you shift and you start looking at Fortune 500 and then specifically Fortune 100 energy and utility companies, whether they're midstream producers, large-scale utility companies, right? All of them have huge customer bases. They have tons of private data that they have to protect. They have all kinds of laws that apply to the data that sits inside of their platforms. Okay? So because of that, they all lead to these SOC 2 compliance rules. Okay? And in order to be able to successfully compete and win an RFP with a company like those, right, with the big five in the energy world, if you can't check off that box, you are instantly not considered as an option to become the system of record, okay, or to be able to house that data for them. So it's just a matter of time, even for the smaller ones, those that become successful or get acquired by somebody else, the data and whatever tool they have it in will be forced to be migrated out and put into a system that is SOC 2 compliant. That threshold, and I don't know exactly what the cost is. I've heard it's around $250,000, give or take, to be able to spend that much money to get that compliance and certifications done on behalf of the software company, is just something that smaller organizations can't absorb. When they get one client that makes that request, the revenue they generate from that one client doesn't offset the cost of the $250,000 sitting there waiting for them, right? And they don't know what's coming next, so they simply don't make that choice. And they go a little different route, and they provide services to smaller clients at a smaller scale.
Yeah, I tell you, it was attractive for, I think, the damage prevention market is, as our data became more valuable, the security around the data became tougher, which is, I think, a necessary requirement. And I think, as you said, Eli, as you start looking at Fortune 100 companies and you start to see what level of security they have, making the investment into the product to have SOC 2 compliancy is a significant investment. It's one of the reasons we thought it was really good to join with Earth and become a Blackstone portfolio company, because we knew that their view of this was the next movement forward is a secure data environment. And to be the champion of that data set means that you have to show not only the understanding of the data, but how you're going to protect it. And I think in the solutions like Irth Land Management or pipeline integrity or ticket management, we're just now at the kind of tip of the iceberg of identifying that data value. When you start throwing that data into large language models, what you could do with it, I think, blows the minds of most of us that have been in the industry for a long time. So I'm so glad you hit on that point. Yogesh, one of the things that I keep thinking about is, now that you've got access, your development staff's growing, you have a larger audience to talk to. What are some of the new technology advancements that you're doing that you see coming forward in the next probably year to 2 years for Irth Land Management? And how are those being identified and built?
that is by far the most exciting thing in terms of the merger, right, Jason? So the ability to work on the roadmap, dedicatedly, and to be able to even bring up the roadmap, more, in terms of expediting that journey is a really exciting prospect for us right now. In terms of technology is going to continue to evolve, right? This is technology is continue going to disrupt. It's going to continue to evolve. It's going to be a key component, not just in the industry, but even in land management, right? So if I think about where technology is going to be meaningful, one of the areas that comes to mind is the data driven decision making, right? Right now, when Eli kind of talked about the large quantity of data and big data that companies are having to manage, and they want to get meaningful insights out of that data so that they can make decisions, right? What does a land cost per acre in a certain area based on a land use type, right? you know Today, when companies are doing estimation, they may or may not be using most up to date models to identify what that pricing might be, and using a predictive analysis tool that can adjust itself as you are gathering more and more data, and your decision making is going to be based on not a static point in time. It's going to be based on the most up to date data, and a almost like a artificial intelligence and augmented version of data, right? So that, I think, is something that would be very, very important. Collaboration continues to be a key challenge, right? This is something that we hear again and again that companies are struggling with. So they are looking for, something that will make communications more meaningful, more effective, and that is going to continue to become with AI and some of the technologies in that space. It will continue to become better. There is environmental monitoring, that is again something that things such as remote sensing and drones again will be able to bring in more data, more timely data, so that the information is not getting stale. You're making decisions again, like if you think about vegetation management, being able to identify a problem as it's happening, not on a schedule, right? It's not like I'm doing my checks every 6 months, but what happens if something changes between those 6 month intervals, right? Having ability to use some of the drone technology and being able to continuously make satellite imagery, drone technology, all of this can be used to identify problems in a much more meaningful and cost effective way than maybe what is available to our clients today. So these are some off the cuff thoughts, right, of kind of what is available and what can be done. So Eli, go ahead.
So there's a couple things to circle back what you were asking before about utilities, about other products that Earth has, right? So the marriage between land management system as the system of record, and then having 811 tickets when they come in. Okay? The 811 tickets come in, somebody needs to go out and see them. It'll usually be somebody from the land department that works on the O&M side that's going out to look at that damage. Okay? The ability right now to not only just have a ticket, but then to be linked to the entire history since you've owned that asset, to be able to say, this is the owner, this is who sold it, these are all the agent notes, these are the animals, these are the gate codes, right? And then on top of that, to be able to take a picture that when you arrived, this is the condition you found, and when you left, this is the condition you left it in. Whether that's gates are locked for livestock, right? Rangers and farmers that are out there, whether it's actual damage and you need to be able to take a picture and have a lat long of where the damage is, so a remediation team can get out there to be able to fix it, right? It's no big deal if you come to somebody's residential home, you'll find it. But when you're talking about tracts in Texas that might be 40,000 acres, just because you have an address doesn't mean you have a clue where the damage actually is. Okay. So you got to be able to tie those two together. And then the more you talk to clients about what they really want, they're getting to the point now where they're like, what can I get? Not necessarily what do I want, because they don't know the answer. Okay. Right. So Utilisphere has been a very interesting thing to learn about Earth, in that it is your data lake and repository of information, where it already has an API that's built to Irth Land Management, to 811 ticketing software, right? So our clients start looking at that going, wait a minute, if we can take all the data that we've already captured that we know is ownership information, data that matters to us, and store it inside of Utilisphere, that other projects and other products that we use can then tap into that same data. So when you think of projects that you've done for midstream or for energy companies and utility companies that are trying to build new large-scale power transmission lines, they want to be able to bring in all MESO data or all CAISO data, right? East Coast, Mid-Continent. They want their developers and commercial guys to be able to use that same data that they've already paid for and collected once, right? Now, all of a sudden, Earth has this suite of services and products that allows them to take advantage of it all, right? You're looking at one vendor that can actually give you the solutions you need for the different phases internally of your organization that require it, right? It's not compartmentalized anymore. And one of those big, like just a brief example, we had a client. They had an internal argument looking at all the spatial data inside of Earth. They were looking at 4 different lines in the middle of the desert, right? Arguing over where the existing infrastructure was. We knew where it was, but it's because one group was using information that they got from Homeland Security. One was using it from the Department of Energy. One was using it from the 2 states where the project crosses. And then we actually had the surveyed line, right? They weren't wrong. You just had 4 sources of truth trying to argue with each other on where these existing towers and poles were, right? We see that all the time. So to be able to have this one source of truth that comes in where their data is housed at Earth and the different departments are using it, that argument goes away, right? So
it's interesting that you say that. I have to, one of the things that I find interesting, I spent 25 years just doing damage prevention. But when the first time I had a conversation with Yogesh, and I think Eli, you were hitting on some of this, there were so many records that were being captured in land rights management that have extreme value to ticket management. And when I was able to start having conversations with the one call center saying, do you know guys are out gathering this information? They started to say, we would like to gather that information. Things like gate codes and that kind of stuff. What we're doing now is we're expanding the ticket management side where the ticket gets created at the one call center by adding all these additional fields of data and the positive response, because everybody wants to collect all the data. I don't think people, 10 years ago realized that maybe a gate code would have value a month, 2 months, a year down the road. But now that we're seeing these possibilities with what you're doing, we're gathering so much data, it's actually changing our approach to damage prevention. And we're that was brought together by Earth, bringing our companies together, because we weren't connected before and we never had the conversation. And we're 2 businesses that share similar data, requirements. So to expect somebody in a small organization to be able to know all those different roles and have to access all this different data everywhere, especially when they were using spreadsheets and just, physical paper files, it's impossible. So I think for me, the biggest winner is our clients. They're going to have the opportunity now to see data from their different departments all leveraged together to give each department more value. And so I'm so thrilled with this opportunity. It's interesting.
Remember, Irth Land Management also has probably the most robust mobile application in the industry.
Yeah.
So it's one thing to have it all sitting at a desk, but pipelines and infrastructure usually aren't near major metropolitan hubs, right? So the ability to take that data with you offline and for our agents to be able to take it with them, download it when they need it, head to the field, and then sync it back when they're back in civilization, it's huge. You need to be able to see those agent notes. You need to be able to take pictures. You need to be able to add and access the information you need while you're in the field, right? Now they're all combined and they're in the same place.
Yeah, absolutely. You make that guy so valuable, right? That now you have an asset gatherer out in the field with real eyes on it. And then that information, look, the satellite stuff's great. All the stuff we're doing with integrity is great. But sometimes at the end of the day, a human being standing there with his eyes and making really good notes is the most valuable asset we could ever deploy. The challenge is to deploy it effectively, right?
Yep. Yeah. And then you guys were talking about vegetation management. So the vegetation management piece, I think people lose sight of really what's being asked. Some of these, especially on the West Coast, some of these large electrical transmission, your usual suspects up and down the West Coast, they cover such a massive amount of area, just square miles. It's almost incomprehensible to people to really realize how much they have. And then you look at the topography of those regions. Okay? And you go, well, no human can go walk this thing. Right?
Correct.
Like it would take too long. It will grow back before you ever got to the end.
Absolutely.
So when you start combining satellite imagery, okay, and then be able to also bring in drone imagery, one of the real life use cases is that these companies are paying the largest arborist companies in the world to go out and do vegetation management and paying an exorbitant amount of money. Okay, but they have to clear their right of way and do their job and obligation. But if you talk to the clients in charge, they have a very difficult time proving that the work was actually ever done. If it's in the middle of nowhere,
Sure.
okay, and it is a 4-day hike with equipment, and you're looking at an invoice on your desk that has lots of zeros on it, how do you know it got done? Right? Drones now allow you to do it, and taking that drone imagery and attaching it track by track and parcel by parcel inside of Earth would allow a client to be able to literally follow the line. And you could see the before and after pictures because you flew the drone beforehand and you flew the drone afterwards. Right? That didn't exist 5 years ago.
Right.
Go ahead.
Technology is definitely disrupting, Jason. And if you think of the speed at which technology is evolving, right? I'll talk to a different aspect of this problem, right? I mean, you think of us as software companies and the continuous challenge we have, right? There's always a newer version of Microsoft coming out. There's a newer version of Esri coming out. And we are constantly in this cycle of upkeeping our software, right? Now, we can spread that cost across hundreds and hundreds of clients that we have, right? But think of a company that is maintaining this in-house and the challenge they have and how quickly their softwares are getting outdated. I mean, we still are seeing examples of clients still running solutions on Silverlight and some of these technologies that have been out of service even from Microsoft for many, many years now. But this is the challenge that, while technology is bringing some very positive effects in terms of, all the advancements and the efficiencies that can be availed. But on the other side, it is also impacting individuals or companies. Software used to be you build the software once and you can collect royalties for the rest of your life, right? Not anymore. This is a different challenge, and if you don't adapt and if you do not continue to evolve, then you are going to get outdated very, very quickly. And that is some of the good and the bad that is happening with kind of some of the technology updates that are happening in the world that we're living in. So
yeah, I think anytime that you take a step forward in tech, right? If you upgrade to go from a client server solution to a cloud-based solution and all of that, I don't think there's any regrets taking that step. There's just a lot of pain sometimes associated with taking the step. It's interesting as we saw the shift go from traditional client server to a mobile platform in the cloud. What happened was the way they work changed. They became more efficient, but then they had more work to actually do. I think now what we're seeing is the guys out in the field now who may have just had one job previously are now doing 10 things at once. And it's because technology, right? So I think it just proves the point that as long as you keep moving forward, and as software developers, I think we live in this world. The solutions that we are selling today was software we wrote yesterday. What we're writing today is what we're going to be selling in a year from now. So getting involved early in this process, adapting a platform like the Irth Land Management earlier, whenever you could do it, ensures that you're going to be prepared for the next steps that come forward. We're just touching the surface of what we can do with AI and large language models. Right now, you're really good at collecting data and using good data. Just give us a couple of years when we have all of this data and all of this new insights of what we can do, because now we're going to create actionable items off of this really incredible insight that we have. So I'm really excited about it. I think, Yogesh, as we kind of wind this down, I'm a little bit curious of where you see the Irth Land Management program in a year from now. And then Eli, I want to kind of finalize this conversation and learn a little bit more with what you're doing at Greyhawk and how your clients are getting, some of the advantages of this platform. So Yogesh, why don't you start us off?
Wow. In a year from now, where do I see Irth Land Management as a solution? And, I think we have been disrupting the market. We have been making a lot of, inroads into a lot of organizations that see the value of what we bring, right? So I just honestly, I see us continue to do what we do, because that has been our success mantra, if you will, all up to now, right? Which is We continue to evolve ourselves. We continue to take a hard look at where we can make things better for our clients, listen to our clients, and react to our clients, right? That's going to be important. But then on the flip side, and this is kind of what Eli was saying too, maybe our clients don't know what they want, right? So it's also being innovative in the other aspect of bringing meaningful solutions, identifying opportunities and features that our clients will appreciate or the industry will appreciate, and making those introductions and getting kind of buy-in into those areas as well. So kind of want to find, I would like to see us make a fine balance between what our clients are telling us and then also what the data is telling us, right? And what technology evolution is happening, and take all of that and continue to move this product forward. That's really honestly how I would like to see us move over the next year or so. So
Really
and sign up a lot more clients. So
yeah. And Eli, tell us a little bit more about Greyhawk and what the future looks like there, and where you see this industry heading.
Yeah, so we are a certified partner with you guys, which we appreciate very much. And really kind of where we step in is that last mile. It's the implementation of taking the software in its product line and then taking it to our clients and actually showing them its highest and best use inside their organization. So I've had this long-standing line kind of since I met Yogesh, and whether it's kind of cheesy or not, but if you don't guide them and you sit at a conference room table and you ask them what they want, they will say, I want everything. And what do you guys provide? And you guys will say, we do everything. And then anything wants everything, but nobody actually made a decision, right? So we like to step in and through our, working with Yogesh since 2011 and knowing the platform and having specialists that actually do this in-house for multiple clients, lots of clients all around the country and all types of different industries, we're able to kind of stand in there in that conference room and guide them and go, currently, your organization uses this model to run linear projects. If you're curious, your three largest, very similar competitors in your business operate it this way, and this way, right? Here's three other options. Do any of these resemble a better way of doing business? Without telling our clients what to do, we can start to open their eyes to better best practices that we see. Once we gain their trust, we can start walking through there and go, look, I know what you're doing, but there's a better way to do it if you let us. This is a better platform. This is better software. Right. You were asking a second ago, what's one of the big differences between kind of Irth and our competitors, and it ties into this, but a lot of other platforms that are out there that are much smaller, they have a single version of their software. Okay? So it works great when you have one client or you built it for yourself and you're sharing. But the moment the clients all start asking, can you do this for me because this is how I operate? Or could you track this data point because this is important to me in this project? Their answer comes back as no, because if I make that change, I change it for all of our clients. I change it for every project, right? Irth doesn't have that. Irth, we can break it down by client, and even then under there by projects, because when they operate in different states, every state has a different set of requirements, right? So when you combine all of those features, you need to get eventually, depending on the size of the company, but you definitely need to get to a solution like Irth that allows you to have customizable solutions per project type. What if your organization runs midstream, is a producer and pulls product out of the ground, is now stepping into carbon storage, carbon pipeline, hydrogen pipeline, also does electrical transmission? What do you do, right? Irth Land Management has the ability to run all of those types of projects inside of it. Competitors don't. They weren't built that way, right? So when we start going through the best practices of how to be able to operate and how to be able to use this stuff, we can actually sit down with our clients and make sure that they're getting the value out of the product they bought from you. Okay? But you're fixing one of their biggest problems, which is just notorious in our organizations of our clients. When they go to buy something like this, they never really think about who's in charge of implementing it. Like who on my team at the corporate level is going to do this, right? And typically what we've always seen is they walk in there and they assign it to the person that was about to get let go, the least busy, the least competent, the least of everything, and now they have this new task, and they have never dealt with databases. They have never dealt with really the land management entire process. They do not possess the authority to demand time of our clients and their superiors to get clear directions on what they want the software to be able to do, right? And so therefore, the implementation piece becomes very difficult. Irth is waiting for clear directions, and they're not receiving them. The process gets convoluted. right? So Greyhawk steps in and babysits that and says, all right, we're not going to do it the old way. We're going to show you best practices and tell me what you disagree with. We're going to train your staff. We're going to be their first point of contact because we know their industry. We understand the why they're asking for something, and then can turn around and translate that to Yogesh and his team in terms of this is what they're actually asking for. This is their need and this is why. When they get clear directions, the turnaround, the results are very fast and very efficient, right? It's really what we do. We like the services piece. It ties into what we do on behalf of our clients, which is actually executing their large linear projects. And the tool we need to be able to do that and do it on time is Earth, right? I probably have more vested in your success because of our projects than I think you guys do.
Well, I will tell you, it's been really exciting to learn about this kind of extension of what our clients have done, and then to get to meet Yogesh and see him come on board, and then get to meet you, Eli. I think there's great value for all of the Earth clients and the offering that we have here. If you want to learn more about the Irth Land Management offering, please visit our website at www.earth.com. To learn more about Eli and some of the stuff that Greyhawk offers, please visit greyhawkland.com. I want to thank you both for joining us today. This was a great conversation. I hope we can do this again. I think if we set a point on our calendar and say, this is where we were, and then we look at this in a year from now, I think some of the advancements we're going to make come just what you're saying, Eli, by listening to clients, hearing what their challenges are, showing them good ways to solve these challenges, and then kind of innovating solutions with them. I think we're going to take this product with only the product remaining like it is and seeing all the other complementary technologies Earth offers. I think we're going to open up some new opportunities that are really going to help our clients see more out of this data. So I want to thank you both for joining us today. I look forward to having a conversation again. Thanks again.
Thanks for having us. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having us. Absolutely. It was great talking to you. So.